quick one before we start. If you're sick of living off servo pies and guessing your way through meals on the run, this is going to help. It's Power B from Nature B. It is a full meal replacement shake. We live on it and we thrive on it. It's not a snack, it's actually a meal. And it's got grass-fed whey protein, probiotics for gut health, and it's the only shake in Australia with Nature B's Power Pollen built in. 2 shakes a day. It is that simple. If it doesn't work for you, Nature B gives you your money back, no questions asked. The intro pack's $39.95. There are links in the description. And like anything, it works best alongside regular exercise and a balanced diet. Now, let's get into the episode. Okay, so here we are with a very special Truckie Tuesday Bonafide podcast coming to you from the Cattleman's Hotel Motel.
Motor Inn,
downtown Dubbo. Very good. I'm very impressed with this place. We're not being paid as there is no money being changed here, but I think give a rap where a rap's due. Beautiful rooms, aren't they?
Yes.
And air-conditioned, clean, and right where you want them. And one great restaurant, fantastic breakfast this morning. So the Cattleman's Motor Inn in Dubbo, I recommend it. Two swimming pools, an indoor and an outdoor. So, yeah, I'm very, very impressed. Rod Hannafy is with me. We're in his hometown. And Fergo is with us, our 14-year-old truckie expert from Broken Hill. Came here with his beautiful mum, Jackie. 8 hours because he heard that we were doing this special episode from Dubbo. So, I mean, 10 out of 10 for enthusiasm. Fergo,
support,
welcome.
passion.
Yep. Hello.
How are you, buddy?
Oh, not too bad. How are you?
Okay. I'm very good. We stopped off at Rod Pillin's. That's where we had to meet, which is where your mighty Kenworth lives.
Yes.
And I've never seen such a huge yard in all my life. Very interesting story, your employer, who got into trucks when he came back from Vietnam, went to Darwin, had one truck. There was a Cyclone Tracy incident. Yes. You might remember that, 1974, Christmas Eve.
Yep.
Christmas Day it hit. And Rod Pillin's story is a real success story, isn't it?
Look, in Dubbo, of course, virtually the centre of New South Wales, there is some dispute. But he started running to Darwin after Cyclone Tracy with one truck. He was working for other people as well at the time. And then in 1972, he incorporated Rod Pillin Transport. So in 22, it was our 50 years that the company's been going. His son Ben is now running it. And Ben's son Oscar, the third generation, he's involved. He was out at work yesterday. So it's where transports come from, and I think a lot of people see the big companies, but they don't recognise, I think it's something like 95% of the transport companies in Australia are mum and dad companies, and they operate in a local town, and they service the town, and they take stuff away and they bring it back. And that's changed enormously over the last few years. And we've seen how many companies in the last few years go bad.
Just recently, just last year. Yeah. Companies you wouldn't think, family companies that you wouldn't think they'd go broke. So what's Rod doing right?
Look, I suppose it's a lot of things that they know what their costs are. We've had older trucks. So people go out and buy a brand new truck and then they don't cost it properly. They don't know what their running costs are. They go and do a job for a certain amount, but they're actually losing money and they don't know that until after they get paid. And then you've got to get paid some of the time too. So that they've run it as a low base cost. We've had older trucks. They do them up. And I suppose it's still small enough that it's family. And it was one of the things I look for. Like I drove for a very, very large company which became multinational, and I approached them and said I wanted to do something like the truck ride industry vehicle. And in the end, I went into a meeting with the boss, and they said their exact words were, "We can't afford it." So I left after 29 years service. I wrote to a number of companies, and someone said, "What about Rod?" Because of course I was living in Dubbo. And I had to find someone that was big enough that one truck going to an event or, losing one day's wages wouldn't break them.
Yeah.
But they had enough passion for the industry. And when I sort of first spoke to Rod, he said, "Oh, look, if it works out, I'll buy you a new truck and trailers." And 12 months on, he bought the trailers that are on the road now still. And he said, "I've got everything I have from the transport industry and I'm prepared to give something back. I just want a fair go." And that's sort of where we started and where we're still going now.
Because you're his longest serving driver.
Yes.
So how many years ago did you start?
This will be my 18th year there.
And when you started, all the other workers said, we'll give this bloke less than 12 months because you were carting petrol.
Yes. I was a fuel tanker
You were
driver.
a tanker wanker. Yeah. And they didn't think you'd last. Why is that?
Look, fuel tankers probably second tier. The top tier in the industry is heavy haulage, multi-million-dollar gear, let alone what you're carrying. And it's really precise and you can't screw up. And we've seen what happened with people hitting bridges and things of late. Tankers is probably the next tier. You are carting dangerous goods, but it's an easy job in a way that when you load, you go to a terminal, you plug a hose in, you fill the truck, away you go, you pull a hose in, you empty the truck. General is everything. We can have anything from a motorbike to dangerous chemicals to weird stuff on the trailers.
Rhinos.
To
white rhinos and giraffes.
And giraffes, yes.
And you told me that story in the truck to this podcast later on because we had a great chat up in the cabin.
Yes.
And we went for a drive and that was an eye-opener for me. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
And you're up a long way, so you get to see forward a long way and try and predict some of the dramas that might happen. But it's what people do around you that astounds me. The education's still not getting through.
Education's not out there, that's right. And look, we didn't have anything untoward happen yesterday. We had one truck just come over towards the centre line a little bit. But every day you go out there, what I've said to you is that, the government won't recognise the road as our workplace. Now, you come into the depot, we were there on a Saturday, everyone else has gone home, but normally you've got to have the safety vest on, you've got to be with someone, they take you everywhere, the forklift's operating, you keep away. These are the rules of the business.
Because there's a duty of care.
That's right.
But if the government admits that the road is your workplace, they have a duty of care and therefore up for liability if something goes wrong because they have neglected your workplace.
That's right, yes. And one, it's the people that enter the workplace. So we don't teach people to share the road with trucks. That's not done properly. And the second one is then the road itself has to be safe. So if I ring up and say, I believe this road is not safe, they have to fix it. Now, I ring them all the time now and say the road's not safe. And yes, I do get some bits fixed. But if it were recognised, they would be a lot more accountable. Whereas now I can say, well, I told you about that failure. And then I've got to know there's an accident of that failure later to tell those people that I already told them because once they know, they have the duty of care. But they can say, we didn't know because we're in Sydney and we didn't know about that hole the other side of Burke. It was just, the size of a small table. So it's really frustrating in that way that we're held to account, we're controlled, we are the most monitored profession in Australia. They know where you are, what you do. We're counted to every second of the day and we deliver everything to everybody and we've got to be safe, but we don't have the rest areas to manage our fatigue. But then they punish you if you don't manage your fatigue and round we go. So
Fergus, as a young person wanting to get into the truck industry, hearing this conversation about, the difficulties of working and, the unfairness of the system, how does that make you feel? Like, does it make you feel determined or does it kind of make you a bit wary of going into the industry?
No.
Because your dad's in the industry, so you're probably aware of a lot of it.
Yeah, but...
Is it going to stop you from going?
No, it's not going to stop me. But... See, if you have a damaged road, you'd ring up some bloke and their office would be in Sydney and you're trying to talk about a road in the middle of New South Wales and their office is in Sydney. And it will be a challenge if there's no proper, well-maintained roads. It'll be a challenge. You'll have flat tyres, dinted rims. I've seen a couple of them, some of the roads here. Put a lot of wear on gear. If tar roads are not maintained, that'll wear them out and do damage to the drivetrain or the bearings. It's definitely going to be a challenge if nothing gets done.
Because you and I went over some potholes yesterday, Rod, and they weren't big, but they still shook the hell out of us.
They were failures. We didn't actually see any potholes, and that's part of the problem. If there's a hole and you ring up and say there's a hole, hopefully even the local crew, when they drive down the road, will see the hole. You would hope they'd patch it. When it's a failure, so the road hasn't actually broken up, but it's distorted or it's uneven or it's rough, you felt it, and we were only going down the road gently sort of thing because we were empty. And that impact every single time comes into the truck. It affects the shockies, it affects the springs.
The freight that you're carrying.
Look, with airbags now, It is less damaging to the freight generally. But when you get a really severe impact, which we really didn't see yesterday, and you're only going to go up to Martha Guy Creek, which is on my next list of things to get fixed, and it is bang. And that's what it is. And that does affect the freight. But it's my level of stress and trying to keep the truck on the road safely, to control it, to think that someone coming the other way might hit that deformation. And because the road's not broken, they're not looking for it. If it's a pothole, they can see it. You hope they'll avoid it. If it's just a big dip because the road's all black, they don't see it, they could be sticking their finger in their ear or changing the radio station or drinking a cup of coffee. They go bang into that and they swerve across into us or something like that. And to get the people in Sydney who are so far away and so removed and don't drive on country roads to understand that is really hard. And I've got to say thank you to Fergo. Like, we were talking there about the roads being resurfaced. He came out yesterday, give us a hand to wash the truck before you turned up. And there's all the bitumen up the side. And we were trying to get bitumen off the wheels and bitumen off the cab. And it's because when they spray it, it goes on hot and then it goes all up over the truck. So, look, there's all of those things. But the biggest one is our safety. Everybody tells us how to do it. The people that make the rules and the people that police them don't have to live by them, but we have to do it. We're under the scrutiny of the public, the authorities, everybody else. And yet, if there was no trucks, you would be cold, naked and hungry. And people, if they look around them, must recognise, and they're going to say, put it on the rail. Well, mate, how are you going to get a rail siding into the back of this motel to deliver all the food that you ate this morning for breakfast? All the furniture that's in here. The fuel, well, you didn't use any fuel coming out, but normally you need fuel for your car. So that gets delivered by a truck. And without trucks, Australia stops. Yeah, and we don't want to threaten it. We just want to be safe.
I'll tell you what brings it down to grassroots realisation, and that was during COVID and toilet paper. Everyone was desperate for toilet paper. I don't know why, because it was a respiratory virus, not a. But anyway, yes. Everyone was desperate for toilet paper. And how the hell do you think the toilet paper got to Coles? Back to Fergo. So Fergo, you're 14. You go to Broken Hill High. Are you the only? What year? It's 14. So I'm tipping you're in year
8 this year.
You're in year 8 this year. How many other kids in year 8 are so focused
on trucks?
On anything.
Yeah, well, true, yes.
No, on anything. Fergus is so focused on trucks. He lives and breathes them, takes photos and videos. His dad's a truckie. He wants to be a truckie and he will. How many other kids of your age do you know are this focused? None.
In town, in school. Oh, there'd be a couple in town.
Some who want to be farmers.
But in school that I know, there's none.
Yeah. And that's where we are failing to attract young people. We've spoken about we need a forklift ticket at 16, so at least you can get them into the yard. Like, we can't have anyone out there legally on a forklift learning early. Then you put them in the ute and they go and do deliveries. And then they work their way up into the body truck and they know about load restraint and all that thing. And we've discussed simply having a truck licence, should you manage to get one. And we've discussed the problems with that, comparing an Australian person to someone overseas being given one. And I did see, as of the 1st of February, Luke, I read, although I had a big argument on the phone with a bloke yesterday about this, he reckoned I was wrong, that as of the 1st of February in New South Wales, there are now certain countries where they will not automatically give you a truck licence. We've discussed you come here in a car and you drive around in a car as a tourist, that's fine. But to go and work as a licensed truck driver, you've got to be tested before you get the licence. Now, New South Wales is only the second state to adopt that. Came in South Australia last year because of a major fatal crash on the Nullarbor. New South Wales is the second. There's 5 more to go. And I don't care where people come from. I just want them safe. But if we don't get young people in, then we need those people from overseas.
So who's going to do the testing? How regulated is that going to be? Is it going to be a private company that's willing to take backhanders?
Look, there have been a couple of companies who have been licensed assessors, have had their assessment withdrawn in New South Wales. So maybe they're doing that as well. We want proper licensing. We want to
trust the testers.
That's right, yes. And we want to trust that the bloke that got the licence can actually drive. I was talking to a mate yesterday and he said at one stage he had this bloke on a forklift. He was going for his forklift licence. It's normally a 2-day course. They did everything in their power to teach this bloke. He was there for 4 days. They had 3 different testers, and he just couldn't pick it up to the point where he could truthfully answer the question. He said, mate, I can't give you a license. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the time people come here, I want a license, I can drive the truck, and they drive it around the block. Hey, where's my license? Well, mate, you got to back it up and you got to do this. And no, I paid my money. I want my license. So that puts them in a position where, I'm sorry, mate, you didn't pass. You shouldn't be on the road. You can't have a license. Then they go and get somebody else. And look, there's so many factors there, but we need a national system because we drive, yes, we work in different states, but we all live in Australia. And truckies are the one group, I suppose, out of many. There's probably a couple of others, but cross borders every day. Like I normally cross 2 or 3 borders every week. So where the laws are different in every state, it's harder to comply. It's been a problem with the industry. We're closer than we've ever been. But NHVR are on the eastern seaboard. They're not in WA or NT. And again, reading last night, they tried to fine a driver who had driven into Western Australia, returned back to South Australia, and they said, but you actually, if you had been in South Australia when you did what you did in WA, you'd have broken the law. He said, but I wasn't. I was operating under the WA law in WA, and now I'm legal when I come back. NHVR tried to take him to court, and they lost. Now they're saying they're reviewing the decision, and yes, their aim is to be safe. They have a new CEO, but I'm a bit concerned. It seems that there's been a real change from what they told us was inform, educate, then enforce. It seems now that they're going to be a lot more hardball. Now, their answer to that is, we want you to be safe, and we want to be safe. But look, these people don't live the job. They don't live on the road. They don't live in that 2-metre box that is my kitchen, my lounge room, my workplace, my bedroom and everything else. They don't drive on the roads. They've got no control to fix the roads. They've got no control to supply the rest areas. But you do it my way, and you do what I tell you, and you be safe. How?
Yeah.
But this is the thing with the there's some people in the NHVR, they're more than happy to rip it into you if you do something wrong. But they don't have a truck license, or they might have never even been in a truck. But yet they're fining you, and you misspelt something in your logbook.
Look, the misspelling one is always a furphy. It's if you try to deceive. If you put B when you could have been in Broome or Brisbane, well, then you try to deceive them. If you spell Broome without the E, that's not a deliberate deceit, and they shouldn't be doing it because that one comes up. But,
or bad handwriting.
Yeah, again, there is a difference between a mistake, and we are human, we make mistakes, and deliberate deceit. Post came up on Facebook yesterday saying that all the fines are increasing and you could be up for a $20,000 fine. Now, how can you justify a fine for that level because I drove 10 minutes to get to a toilet and we don't have the facility?
And someone can be over the limit in a car, kill someone, lose their license for 2 years, get a $600 fine, and that's it.
Yes.
Yep. And if you get into an accident, say you're just driving along, you're heading to Brisbane, car comes across the road, hits you, and you've got it on dash cam or something, but yet when the cops turn up, they're the first people and they're onto you. Oh, where's your logbook? Where's your license?
Yes.
But not the person who's at fault.
Yeah.
The EWBs, and you have one, will they fix a lot of that?
Look, I actually noticed yesterday that they brought, it's in America, it's an ELD, electronic logging device, and they were mandatory when they brought them in. Everybody had to have them. I see there's been a big push in America to go back to paper logs, they call them. We call it the logbook. In some ways, and Sal Petrosito was the prior CEO of the NHVR, and he was a real fan of EWDs here. We call them electronic work diaries. And I think that generally they are good. They take away the possibility of you forgot to tick a box, or you didn't do this, or you didn't do that, and here's a big fine for it. So they have improved on that. But again, blokes that said in America, and their laws are slightly different. So they have a 14-hour window in which to work 11 hours, and then they must have a 10-hour consecutive break. So that's why rest areas are even more critical over there. But they're saying from the minute you start, you're on the clock and you're running. Now, over there, if you only work 4 hours in that 14-hour window, you must still stop and have a 10-hour break. Ours is a little bit more flexible, but you also got to consider, Luke, that they've got a town every 100 kilometres over there. Yes, they've got some gaps, but they don't have the small population with the big country that we have here. They don't have the big gaps. You don't drive 2.5 days to get to Perth or to Darwin or something like that and not see anybody along the way. So it's a difference, and in some ways they're saying over there that it controls you and it forces you to be running from the minute you start. And even then here, EWDs have been good, and most of the on-road officers have said, look, yep, and as I show it to them, Luke, it's on my phone, I say, here it is, and it says, no non-compliances. Oh, you're right, Rod, way you go. In the past, you get a logbook, it's got 100 pages in it. Now, if they pull you up when you're on page 99, there used to be a gentleman's agreement that they didn't go back past the last inspection, because the last time you got pulled up, the officer writes, I pulled Rod up at Cobar at 2:27 and the lock was all good, everything's fine. So it used to be a gentleman's agreement that because that officer obviously looked back to the last one, you must be okay. But there are those who will pull you up on page 99, sit you on the side of the road and start there and go back. And they will look until they find you forgot to tick a box, put a date in, say it was Tuesday when it can't have been any other day. You forgot to add the hours up. Now, none of those things affect your ability to operate safely, but they'll go back till they find one. Oh, I got you, mate. Here, here's a fine for this, $600 or $800. Is that road safety?
No, it's not road safety. And it's the driver that has to pay that. Your boss isn't going to. I saw firsthand your green reflectors.
Yes.
Which I thought was really interesting, and I'll never take them for granted again. I don't know how many times I've driven around roads in New South Wales and just sailed past them not knowing what they were.
Yes.
You were solely instrumental for getting these things up. So basically, where there is a safe spot for a truck to pull over on the left and have a rest.
Yep.
Or have a leak, or
just check a tyre, whatever it might be.
But just have a break. You got a white post with 3 reflectors on it.
Yep.
And then about 200 metres up.
Yep.
There's a post with 2.
Yes.
And then just before the pullover spot, there's a white stick with 1.
Guidepost.
A guidepost.
Yes.
A couple of them were knocked over, by the way. You're going to have to fix that. But I saw it firsthand, so now I know what it's all about.
Yes, and look, I occasionally call drivers up and say, are you aware of them? And they'll say no. And you tell them and they say, oh, well, I've seen him and I wondered what they were for.
Yeah.
Well,
there's got to be an education campaign.
Yes, but initially we tried to keep it to truck drivers. So there are people who are going to say, don't pick on the caravanners. Why pick on them? But there's a lot more out there, and COVID started that thing where they're out everywhere. It used to be as soon as it got hot in Melbourne, they all left and went north, and as soon as it got cold, and then vice versa, they'd all come home. Now they're on the road all day, all night. You never, ever used to see a caravan on the road after dark. They'd be pulled up somewhere and having a beer and set up for the night. Now they're on the road, travelling all over the place. And look, we understand they're there and they need somewhere to stop. They have a caravan park choice. We can't go and pull into the caravan park in our road train. And yet some of them will come and use our facilities. There's been a couple of big sort of rows on Facebook. Well, I pulled up and I went to sleep and this truck turned up and woke me up. Well, you're in a truck bay. So if he's going to pull up and turn on his ice pack, or he's got a load of ice cream on and he's got the fridge motor running, what's he going to do? Turn it off and let the ice cream run out the back so you can have a good sleep, but you shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Education.
Oh, mate, it is. But how do I get to every caravanner in Australia, Luke? It's nearly impossible. Yeah. So what happened with the green reflectors, we tried to keep it to us because even in a car, if you're tired, we don't want you driving tired. But generally, you can pull over on the shoulder. You can be safely off the road. And for goodness sake, don't park 2 inches off the fog line. Move a metre off the road.
I tell you what, one thing I did notice, you're driving with your right wheel very close to the middle of the road, so that you've got room to move. You explained all that. But on the left-hand side where that fog line is, there's not a lot of room between the fog line and no tar.
No.
My God. If you've got to move to the left, you haven't got a lot of room to spare. You're going to put your left tyres in the gravel.
Yes.
I didn't appreciate that.
No, you don't. And then we were talking to Fergo's mum about, she was on a road and they virtually, in the past where a lot of the roads were narrow, people in cars would see the truck coming and they would move over and stop and actually park on the dirt where the road was really narrow. Because if you force the truck to put its wheels off onto the dirt, one, it's got to control it. Two, it's going to throw rocks at you, and you're far safer just stopping, letting the truck go, moving back on the road. Not everybody knows that. It's not something, one of those things that was road law, not
But
education.
I'm glad I saw it firsthand. Next time, folks, you're driving on a country road, just think your cabin is 4 metres?
2 metres, 2 by 5.
2 metres by 5. You're taking up a lot of road, and have a look at the left-hand fog line, the thick white continuous line, and then look at how far there is with no tar and bush.
Yes.
And please, just pull over. It's education, isn't it?
So if you're in your car, pull right off the road. You can get out, walk around, you can have a pee, you can do it safely. In a truck, a lot of the time you can't just stop anywhere. If the road's soft, if there's culverts, if it's wet, you could end up pulling over and actually having the truck roll over because the road subsides underneath it because there's no strength in the dirt.
Even in water trucks and fuel tankers where it's liquid, it's a lot worse. And
Yes, you've got the movement of the fuel.
I was parked at Lyndhurst with Dad, and when we were doing like tours in the outback, and the tow truck comes along, and here's this water tanker. It's all half crumpled up on the side. But I reckon,
scary.
going back to caravanners, there should be a licence for caravanners, because you have a big American Ram on a car licence, and then you have a triaxle caravan the length of a semi-trailer, and they're driving that on a car licence.
That's crazy.
It is. And look, we've argued that, but the caravanners say, but I've been driving since I was 27 and I've been everywhere, man, and blah, 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 and I shouldn't have to have a licence. And you truckies have got licences, and we're not perfect either. And we never, ever say we are. We are human, but it is our job. And generally, you talk to some people that have actually looked, and they will say, I would rather be on the road with truckies than anybody else, because we want to get there safely. We don't want to have an accident.
And it's your job. You're not there for a holiday.
Yeah.
The camaraderie on the road, I witnessed a little bit of that yesterday. Can I?
Absolutely.
Okay, well.
Oh, did you get on the...
No, but it was that we were doing the wave,
You're stealing my thunder.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, we didn't. I didn't go on the radio.
I wonder if anyone would have recognised your voice if you did. Probably not. You're a bit past the due date.
13353 is the telephone number, keeping the dream alive. Now, there was a truck in front of us, 200, 300 metres in front, and there was a car that was pulled over on the side, and he just flicked his left indicator on, and that was for you.
Yes.
Just to say, in case you missed it,
Yeah.
there's something.
Yeah, well, there was goats. First off, there was some goats on the side.
Wild goats.
The B-double that we were following at a reasonable distance.
What, goats were in the truck?
No,
on
the
the side
goats
of the
were on
road.
the side of the road.
On the side of the road.
But they were virtually standing on the edge of the fog line. So the truck in front's gone past them. He's just given a left flash on the indicator to say, if you're not aware, these goats are here. Then we got a bit further down the road. There was a car parked on the side of the road.
And Rod said, watch this, he'll give me a little warning. And sure enough, bang, on goes his blinker, just to tell Rod something's there. The waving.
Yes.
And his hands on the steering wheel and just the fingers up like this.
To every truck, or only trucks you like?
I wave to everybody.
Right.
But some people are non-waivers.
They are.
There are waivers and non-waivers. And Rod, I said, look at this. It was a big bonneted truck.
Yes, it was. It was a Western Star.
Western Star. Yeah, I was about to say that. And I said, this guy will give you a waiver? Rod said, no, I don't think he will. I said, why? He said, you can tell after a while. And he didn't wave. He was a non-waiver.
He was.
We need to tell the truckies about National Wave Day, May 8th.
Yes, going to get behind that. And again, look, caravanners, and I've said this, I did a podcast with the NHVR and I did a podcast with someone else the other day, and I said, I watch the cars coming towards me. I want to know they're looking at me. And it's not, that I'm particularly looking to see, oh, gee, she's a nice looking girl. That's nice. It's if they're not looking at me, if they're looking down on the floor or they're looking for their phone or they're doing something else, then I'm more aware that they're likely to move or they're not going to be in their lane, and I can react earlier rather than virtually as they're beside you. You realise that they're not looking at you and they're looking at something else, and then they swerve into the trailers. And I'm too close and there's nowhere to go. And I want to know they're looking at me. And a lot of the time that people will see you looking and think, he's looking at me. Oh, yeah, I'll give you a wave, And how hard is it? And it used to be virtually, you're not going to wave to every single car around Dubbo. But once you're out on the highway, the traffic thins out. It's a level of respect, and I know they're looking, so I feel safer because I know they're actually watching what they're doing instead of doing something else.
Even driving a car, you get to a certain level of experience, and you have a car in front of you, and you can just tell by the driver's body language they're going to pull out, even though and they've got no indicator on. And only experience can teach you that. But we had an ordeal here in Dubbo. A learner pulled out. Nicky was driving with a licensed driver next to it.
Yes.
No indicator.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
There you go. What are the odds that you're going to pass your driver's test when you get to, is it 16 you open your driver's test?
Can you drive Rod's truck?
I can if I...
Like you could? In an emergency?
Yes.
I couldn't. I had trouble getting out. Shall we tell this story?
Automatic, Luke. You
I
just
had trouble
put
getting out of the passenger seat. Now,
We need to get Luke climb up a Freightliner Argosy.
They've got a fold out step. So where the Kenworth one comes out from the side of the truck, they pivot out. And it's like a little stairway up the side.
Where I used to live, we had an old ex-Pearson's Freightliner. I loved it because you'd open the door and the step. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yes, some truck drivers are getting bigger. And I remember back in the days where I had my fridge and I had my UHF radio, I had my bag of clothes, and you'd have to load them all in the truck, and you'd go to Wagga and do a changeover, and then you have to pull them all out of the truck and then put them back in the next truck. Don't do that anymore.
One of the questions that I had looking inside your truck, I could not believe the amount of dibby-dabs.
the what?
The dibby-dabs, like the...
So my truck's got 18 gauges, I think, because I went and bought some new bulbs to put in there the other day. And it monitors everything: diff temperature, oil pressure, water temperature, the hours the engine is run, speedo, tacho, perometer, all of those things. And yes, it looks daunting when you see it, plus there's about 15 switches for different bits and pieces. Then you look up and I've got another radio and the Air CTI, one of my sponsors, that controls the tyre pressures, and you ask what that did. And there's a movement towards having a screen which will only notify you when there's a problem. So it's up to me to scan the gauges and think, oh, geez, that diff temperature's a bit high, keep an eye on that, or something wrong elsewhere. And now it will only tell you if you need to know. Rather than you have all that information in front of you and you're scanning all the time, it will say, everything's fine, Rod, and you can set them up. I want to watch this or I want to monitor that. And it might be the perometer to make sure how the engine's working or the turbo. But yes, there is a move to having that. And then, of course, it brings all the infotainment in as well. You include that and it's all one thing instead of where I've got a separate thing for our tracking, I've got a separate thing for the radio, I've got a separate thing for something else. So there is a move to integrate it more, because it's been something where you continually add on, and it's the same. You buy the truck and I put 15 different lots of things on the truck to get it to where I want it to be. But look, Pillins have been really good. The truck was bought for me. I'm allowed to put stuff on it and maintain it because they know what I do. And they see it that they get something back from that. Obviously, we've promoted them and they've looked after me. There are not a lot of companies would let a driver do that and design a set of curtains and put on the road to promote the industry. Yeah. So, I've been here a long time and they've looked after me. We've had other drivers come and go, and it's a bit like, oh, I can't cope with not getting home next weekend, or I don't want to be told to go to Perth tomorrow, or, oh, it's too hard because I've got to chain it down, and whatever it might be. Yeah. And everybody's different. But look, the part of the industry is it's so diverse. It's not like you're a Boilermaker, and yes, you might work with steel or aluminium or something else, but your skills are generalised. And Boilermakers, please don't give me a hard time over it. But if you're a truck driver, you could be in a 2-ton truck working for the council. You could have a $5 million excavator on that's got to go, and it's 9 metres wide going to a mine. You could have stock on, you can cart horses, you can cart fuel. It's so wide and varied that every one of those groups needs specific instruction, and just having a licence for a truck doesn't mean that you can go and drive a triple in Darwin or a quad in WA. And that's where the companies have a responsibility when they start. Yes, Rod's got a licence, fantastic. Can you drive this? Oh, look, I did that once 10 years ago. Well, let's go for a drive around the block and check you out and make sure that you're actually telling me that you can do it. And you can. Not, yeah, mate, I've driven everything and I've been on the road for 197 years and I've done more miles backward than you've done forward. And they let you go and you don't know what a road ranger is. So it's changed. The technology's there. In some ways, we are still improving on our accident rate. Our accident rate's dropped more than cars. But when there's a crash, it's a truck crash. We are guilty by default, and yet we do not teach people to share the road with us.
I just want to go back to the electric logbooks and electric computers and gauges in the trucks. With electric logbooks and everything, it's good. Like, you'd have something pop up, to stop or anything. But what if there's like a technical fault? What if something happens, there's a glitch in the system or something, and all your hours that you've been counting, like you've been driving from Sydney to Perth and your hours disappear and everything, and with the digital dashboard, say something doesn't alert you of something, there's not an issue, like there's an issue and it doesn't tell you, or...
And that's what they're saying in America, that the problems of the back door systems that monitor everything, when they fail, then you've got no record and then they don't know how many hours you've done. That seems to be more of a problem. I don't know of any here. Like in the very early days, there were some things where they wanted it tied to the truck. So you had to have a system in the truck. But then when you get out of the truck, another driver gets in, how do you keep your records and carry them with you? And that's where the phone has been a boon there. Plus, I can go to this company or that company or Hub Fleet, and I say, here's my system. They have all the records. So I still get an email copy every day when I finish a shift. So I've still got a copy if I need it. It goes to the company as well, because they still had to have the record keeping requirement to watch my hours, see what I'm doing. And the officer on the side of the road, I give it to him and he can go through it. And there are some advantages with EWDs. You don't get the little paltry piss-ass fines that we say have nothing to do with road safety. It will give you a warning and tell you your hours are coming up. You have 45 minutes left till you need a break. Now, a paper logbook doesn't do that. And you go down the road and you think, oh, I am feeling good. Oh, bugger, I should have stopped half an hour ago. Oh, what am I going to do now? So there's advantages and disadvantages. And generally at the moment, I think EWDs are better. I was on the initial EWD panel many years ago and I said you've got to have drivers and you can't bring them in under the current rules because they were so prescriptive and so overarching, I suppose. And I think where we've ended up, where it's not mandatory, you can have one if you want, you don't have to. I think that's working really well in Australia. But again, we monitor what happens in the US because they're a big market, they're similar, and they always say whatever happens in America comes to Australia anyway.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that I'm concerned about. I had a look for the very first time in the back of your cabin, your bunk,
yes,
where you sleep. And if you're doing a two-up, you've got a driver that's supposed to be resting and sleeping. You're driving your hours. When your hours are up, that driver can come in and you keep going.
Yes.
Right. There's no way in the world anyone is going to sleep and get good rested sleep in the back of that bunk while that truck is driving. I can't see how that driver is rested. And what if the driver is shitting himself because he doesn't trust the bloke behind the wheel, or the road's particularly rough and it's bumpy and you're hitting... And what happens when that driver says, oh, it's my turn, is it? I haven't had 5 minutes of rested sleep. What happens then?
Mate, two-up is not that popular in a way for those reasons that you sort of put forward. There are husband and wives teams that do it, and whether you can sort of get on with your wife 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not many people have to do that.
No way.
But look, it does depend. Some of the trucks are better set up than others. I've done two-up to Perth. I've done two-up a number of times across there.
Did you sleep?
I did.
Did you trust the driver?
Yes, but the critical factor is your body only sort of lets you sleep the absolute bit that you need, then you wake up and then it's your turn and then you sit there, and by the time you actually get in, because the other bloke's done his hours, then you're tired before you start again. Look, and I've done two-up to Darwin as well, and that was with another bloke. And it was, I actually went and did a trip with Simon National Carriers. And going back to the camaraderie, they say that like Perth and Darwin, the really long trips, that's where still some of the camaraderie exists. If someone's broken down, you stop. You know, if there's a car there, are you right, mate? But those sorts of things are still there, not so much everywhere else because you got to be there and the logbook controls you. But Two up is for special people. I know a bloke, when I did the trip to Darwin, he said they put this bloke in with me in Toowoomba and I threw him out on the side of the road at Dalby and went to Darwin on my own because he didn't trust the bloke and he'd only driven 100 kilometres.
Wow.
But there are those, and he'd done that for 25 years, doing two up to Darwin. So right partner, you get to understand one another.
It is a marriage.
Yeah. But look, it is an issue. It doesn't happen all that much except on those really long runs. And yes, sometimes you get to choose your partner, you are respectful of them and you are aware of their abilities and you can sleep, but you do have to monitor it, and it's not for everybody.
No.
Look, it's really hard life. I know the police have a hard life as well, with going home, being in control, and then it's different with family. But when your wife rings you and you're 1,000 kilometres away going in the other direction and the tree's fallen down and smashed the window, or the kids are playing up, or that there's something else wrong. I had Brendan Nelson in the truck many years ago, and he said, it's hard to run a family by phone. Truer words never spoken. Look, some blokes ring every night at 7
Nelson,
o'clock.
former leader of the Liberal Party.
Some people ring home every night at 7 o'clock and say goodnight to the kids and tuck them into bed, sort of thing. And phones have made that better. It means that we don't talk as much on the UHF, or you turn it down and then you don't hear somebody, there's an accident in front. But it's a really hard life on family. And if you could change that, then that would make the job better. But then you can't do that and do line haul in interstate and say, hey, Rod, go to Perth tomorrow and then go to Darwin or go somewhere else. So, look, of all the things of the job, I love what I do. I've made it a hobby and a passion, which means I'm accused of having two jobs. Here I am with you now when I didn't get home last weekend. And yet it's got to be done. Someone has to do it, but there's a toll. People don't recognise the toll. They don't care either. But to get people into it is hard. To survive in it is hard. And I suppose I don't know any truckie that goes to work without thinking about what he's doing and where he's going. And, we know that, yes, we're monitored and we're scrutinised and we're controlled and we're fined and penalised. But people don't recognise the lives we save because we want to get there safe. We want to get home to a family we don't see enough of.
My dad has busted his ass trying to be there for like a birthday or Christmas. Like over Christmas when he was doing Brisbane, he'd get like 1 or 2 days off and he'd go again on Boxing Day or the day after. And like it's it, you're missing like Christmas or your wife's birthday, your kid's birthday, and you're missing your holiday. Like your kid would be on school holidays for 6 weeks and you're working for 6 weeks non-stop, and you might be home for like 1 day a week or yeah.
Do you miss your dad, Fergo?
Hey?
Do you miss your dad when he's away?
Yeah.
Did you miss him when you were younger?
Yeah.
In particular?
Well, before I moved to Warhope, he didn't do a lot of big runs. He did mud karting for a bit, and then he drove trucks from Tamworth to Sydney, and that I went with him a couple times. But when he did Warhope, he'd go to Brisbane. He did 3 trips a week. He'd come home, so he'd get home at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go again. And you'd be ringing him, and he'd be say, "Oh, I've just been held up at Nerang for God knows how long because there's a B-double here," and on a good day, he'd be leaving Brisbane at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and he ended up leaving Brisbane at like 8 o'clock one night. And then you'd leave Brisbane. Then you've got Reedy Creek Roadworks to get through. That's either beautiful.
Talk about the roadworks for us. Just end soon, Luke. Because we drove up here in an electric Hyundai Kona, which Mum and I are conspiring to get one, which Luke's really happy about. But the amount of roadworks with no roadworks happening is so frustrating.
Unreal,
I can't imagine having to my patience is I don't have enough patience for it. To do that all day, to be like dealing with that all day every day.
Yes, and look, again, I'll ring it, and I've seen it both sides. I've seen where you've come round the corner and it's gone 80, 60, 40 and the traffic's queued up the highway and you're how am I going to stop here? Or you drive for 10 kilometres and the signs are up and you're down to 60 kilometres an hour and there's not a single vehicle working on the road. Now, at one stage, we were running across to Adelaide and there's all these signs up, 80. And I rang up and said, oh, there's all these signs on the side of the road, but there's nobody there. They were doing the main transmission lines, but the signs have been left there for 6 months after the work. The local copper goes out and knocks you off because you don't slow down. Because you've been through there 18 times and there's no one there and there's no work there, why aren't the signs covered properly when they're not there? We don't want them hurt. We want them to fix the road, want them there to do it properly. But when they're not there, cover the bloody signs if you're not working on the road. Not that hard.
And on the Pacific Highway, you've got some bloke whippersnipping in the medium strip and they've closed one lane. Like, you've got traffic cones along one lane. Doesn't mean if some bloke falls asleep, he's going to follow the traffic cones if he falls asleep. Won't stop him from going into the medium strip from, like, if he fell asleep or had a medical episode or something.
We've got to find a balance. I tried to get on to a roadworks committee to have a truckie say, nah, sorry, it's full, mate. Wouldn't let me on.
And just back to Brisbane, like, you leave Brisbane, you've got Reedy Creek Roadworks. That's either you just full soot straight through or it's held up. You're sitting there for hours. And then you've got Gold Coast traffic, you've got Tweed Heads, then you want to stop at Chindra because you haven't had something to eat all day, and there's 6 caravans in the truck parking spot. And if you're lucky enough, you'll have people sitting in their caravan eating lunch, and you just pull up behind them and put the air horn on until they come out yelling at you.
Well, Fergo, I think you need to carry that passion through all the way into the cab, because it's your generation that is probably going to make, hopefully, the most change, because people like Rod have kind of paved the way of advocating for trucks, and then it's going to be up to you guys to continue that going forward.
Whenever I'm at a truck stop and there's a caravan in a truck spot, I because I love being a pain in the ass, I ring up the BP or the whatever's there. I say, oh, there's a caravan in the truck spot, that needs to be moved.
Get them out.
Yeah.
You should do a name and shame.
But their answer is there's not enough facilities for them either. And at one stage I was told, every time you get a new rest area fixed, you're helping the caravanners. Well, I don't want them driving tired either. Not at all. But they don't recognise that we don't have the options they do, and all we ask for is a fair go.
And there are more and more caravans because more and more baby boomers
Yes.
getting rid of their super.
Generation, and that's the retirement thing that
that's
a lot of the truckies are getting to that age as well, and they're going to go and buy a caravan.
I know, not me though. I won't be doing that. Fergo, we love you, mate, and your mum Jackie.
Yep.
Wonderful woman. Drove.
Shout out to your dad.
Shout out to your dad now. Go on.
Yeah. Thank you, Dad, for letting me come out here.
And stay safe on the road, Dad.
Yeah.
Stay safe on the road, and we miss you, Dad. Go on, say it.
I miss you, Dad.
Good boy. We'll see you on the road.
Good to have you out here. Good to see we finally got you into a truck, Luke.
I
we'll
loved
have to
it.
do a trip one day. He said, I could enjoy this. We're having a good chat down the road. And he said, I don't know if we could do 9 hours with you, though.
No. Nikki can't do 90 hours with me.
Yeah.
So, not many people who can. But it was really good, Rod. Thank you so much. Very, very impressive.
Thanks for making the effort. I really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. Hey, Tim Falker, buddy.
And safe travelling to all.
So remember, if you want something easy that actually fits into a busy day, check out Power B from Nature B. Full meal replacement. Chocolate flavour, 2 shakes a day. The intro pack's only $39.95 and it comes with a 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked. If you don't like it, the links are in the description. And like anything, it works best alongside regular exercise and a balanced diet.